The date was October 15, 1995. Pan Am Flight 6, a double-decker luxury plane known as the King of the Skies, had taken off from Hawaii to San Francisco with its 70 passengers and 7 crew members. People were sitting comfortably on their seats. Some were reading books, some were looking out of the window at the blue sheet of the Pacific Ocean, while some were dreaming about their tomorrow. But suddenly a scream echoed in the quiet atmosphere of the plane. Not 1 or 2 but 4 masked men got up from their seats. They had weapons in their hands. They had hijacked the plane. The passengers were left breathless. The whole plane echoed with the cries of children and the panic of the elders. As soon as this news reached the ATC, there was a commotion on the ground. Preparations for the rescue mission began. But before anyone could understand anything, exactly 5 minutes later, Pan Am Flight 6 disappeared from the radar forever. The reason behind this was that the hijackers had turned off the location system of the plane. But the real danger was something else. A danger that humans cannot control. The plane had gone straight into the mouth of Typhoon, the biggest and most dangerous storm in the Pacific Ocean. The terrible winds were tossing the plane like a toy. The pilot was trying his best to save the plane. But for the next 2 hours the control of the plane was in the hands of nature, and after 2 hours of this deadly struggle, one engine of the plane failed, and shortly after that the second engine also failed. The plane was about to hit the sea surface when some people showed courage and killed the hijackers and jumped out of the broken door into the cold and unknown sea. The plane sank into the water with a terrible explosion, but 60 people somehow survived. All around them were miles of the terrifying waves of the Pacific Ocean. Luckily, just 100 meters from where the plane crashed, there was a rock jutting out of the sea. Everyone took refuge on that rock with whatever strength they had left. Wet, shivering, scared, those 60 people were clinging to each other on that small rock. They had no phone, no signal, no hope. The wreckage of the plane had also sunk into the deep water. Then one of the passengers remembered that he had a pair of binoculars in his bag which had somehow survived with him. He started looking, and then he saw a ray of hope. About half a kilometer away, a small island wrapped in mist was seen. He shouted, "Island, there is an island." Those who knew how to swim did not waste a moment and jumped into this ocean of death again. There were dangerous sharks below and high waves above. But the desire to live was greater than all this. After hours of hard work, only 15 to 20 people were able to reach the sandy shore of that island. Very tired but alive. The people who reached the island did not rest for a moment. They knew that the rest of the people trapped on the rock had to be brought here. Otherwise they would die of waves or hunger and thirst. They collected dry wooden vines lying on the island and somehow made a makeshift raft. Taking that broken raft, they again entered that deadly sea. By making several rounds one by one, they brought every person trapped on the rock to the island. When all the 60 people gathered on that unknown land, then they realized their real condition. This was not heaven. It was a deserted and desolate island. Some coconut trees, a few wild bushes, and only sand all around. No arrangement for food, no source of drinking water. Clouds of despair loomed over them. Some people sat on their knees and started crying. Some started screaming, remembering their families, while some just sat holding their heads. They were not able to believe whether they were really alive or this was a terrible dream. In the midst of this despair, a school teacher, Mr. David, came forward. He said in a loud voice, "Friends, if we panic, we will all die. We have to live. We have to live for each other." There was a confidence in his voice which aroused a new hope in the broken people. Everyone got organized and the care of the injured was started. Now the biggest challenge was hunger and thirst. A young man, Michael, gathered courage and climbed a tall coconut tree and brought some coconuts. Those few coconuts were nothing for 60 people. But they were not just coconuts. They were the first dose of hope. People started collecting rainwater in the pits of the rocks and started drinking it. Mr. David divided everyone into small teams. One team got the task of finding edible fruits or roots on the island, and the other team got the task of making a shelter. The most difficult task was to catch fish. Some young men made spears from sharp branches of trees and stood on the seashore for hours trying to catch fish. After many failed attempts, they finally caught a small fish. That day when that fish was cooked on fire, its aroma was no less than a feast. Everyone ate a small piece of it. It was not just a piece of fish. It was their first victory. That moment taught them that now this is their life where they will have to live by sharing everything. Friends, before knowing what happened next in the story, a small request. If you find this true incident touching your heart, then please like this video and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Your one subscription gives us the courage to bring more such stories to you. And yes, do press the new hype button next to the comments. Days started turning into weeks and weeks into months. Now they understood that help would probably never come. They will have to live here. They started making small huts with leaves, branches and coconut fibers of trees. All their hard work went waste in the first rain itself. The huts started leaking. But he did not give up and became stronger. They built shelters from it. Necessity taught them everything. Gave something they had never even imagined. Some people learned to smoke and dry fish so that it could be preserved for a long time. A woman who was a nurse learned to treat minor injuries and diseases with wild leaves. They decided that if they wanted to live here, they would have to think about the future. They started sowing coconut seeds all around the island. They started planting cuttings of wild plants. They dropped coconut trees on the sand on the seashore and wrote a big help in the hope that maybe an airplane would see it. One day a ship was seen in the sky far away. Everyone screamed like crazy. They lit a fire and made smoke, but the ship did not see them and passed by. That day many people lost hope completely. The first 2-3 months were the most difficult. Diseases started spreading due to the environment of the unknown island, lack of food and no clean water. Despair and loneliness broke many people mentally. One by one 10 people died. Every death was a big shock for them. They were unable to remember their own children. Burying the partner in the sand with his hands and helpless. He would cry. Now he was down to 50 from 60. On the other hand, when no trace of Pan Am Flight 6 was found even after months of search operation in the outside world, the government declared them dead. Condolence meetings were held for their families. Their names were printed in newspapers. For the world, those 77 people remained a painful memory buried in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. They did not know that 50 of them were still fighting death every day on an unknown island, in the hope that someone would come to rescue them. But the world had forgotten them. This was the darkest chapter of their struggle, when they felt that they were now stuck here forever. 2 years had passed. Life had now come on track. They had learned to live. And then a miracle happened on that deserted island. A woman gave birth to a healthy baby girl. The first cry of that baby girl changed the atmosphere of the entire island, where till now there was only death and despair. Now the music of life was resonating there. Everyone came to see that little life. There were tears in their eyes. But this time these tears were of happiness. That girl gave everyone a new reason to live. She was not just a child. She was a proof that life does not give up even in the most difficult situations. That was their new torch of hope. People celebrated that day like a festival because after 2 years, life had won over death. Now they had to live not only for themselves but also for this new generation and make this island a better place. 10 years passed by. A system of life had now been formed on the island. Mr. David had opened a small school for the children, where he used to teach them to read, write and tell them about the world. About the world which these children had never seen. Everyone had divided their work. Some people would catch fish, some would do farming, some would take care of the children. To keep their morale up, they started celebrating the anniversary of the plane crash as Survival Day. On that day they would sing songs, tell stories and remember their friends who were no longer with them. In these 10 years, 5 more children were born on the island. But during this time 7 more adults had lost their lives due to diseases and accidents. Now the total population of the island was 48 including children.
Von deze something happened again.
The sound of a plane was heard in the sky.
Everione ran again.
They shouted again. But the result was the same. The plane passed by without looking at them. The repeated disappointments had now stopped breaking him. Perhaps he had accepted this as his fate. 13 years had passed. The children who were born on the island had now become teenagers. This was the world for them, this was their home. The elders had now become old, the lines of struggle were clearly visible on their faces. Then one morning they heard a sound which they had not heard in 13 years. The sound of a big ship's horn. At first they could not believe it. They thought that this was also their illusion. But when the sound came again, everyone ran towards the seashore like mad. They lit a fire with all their might, shouted, waved their hands. There was a last gleam of hope in their eyes. And this time, This time a miracle happened.
The ship had seen them.
The ship stopped and anchored some distance away from them. That moment cannot be described in words. 48 people were crying, laughing, shouting, holding each other. The long dreadful wait of 13 years was over. When the rescue team reached the island by boat, there were tears in their eyes too. They were looking at those people whom the world had considered dead. When those 48 people returned to the city, the world was shocked. He was no longer the same person as before. The glitz of the city, the cars, the buildings, everything seemed strange to him. No one could believe their story until a survivor's diary came to light. Every single day of 13 years, every single struggle and every single death and every single birth was written in that diary. When the media put the pages of that diary in front of the world, everyone cried. It was an incredible story of human courage, bravery and determination to live. Later a book was also written on this true incident named The Lost Survivors of Flight 613 Years on the Island. This story still teaches us that even a small ray of hope can pierce the darkest darkness, and human courage is greater than every difficulty. Friends, how did you like this heart-wrenching story of these 48 survivors? Can you imagine what it would be like to spend 13 years on a deserted island? Do share your opinion in the comments below.